England legends and Harry Kane are now demanding Argentina's expulsion, the removal of their 1986 World Cup title, and even calls to stop Argentine players from continuing in the Premier League. But before we get into everything, if you believe Argentina should be banned from the Premier League and international football, hit the like button and comment, "Beware of Argentina." Welcome to a night of anger, controversy, and British football pride that is sending shockwaves through the football world. After the refereeing controversy and political storm surrounding the recent World Cup semi-final, frustration across England has exploded. Supporters are calling for Argentine stars playing in England to be removed from the Premier League, with some even demanding that their work visas be reconsidered after a provocative Falkland Islands banner appeared. At the same time, an extraordinary debate has returned. Should Argentina be stripped of its 1986 World Cup title? Let's break down exactly what is being claimed. Harry Kane reportedly expressed his deep frustration to Sky Sports, saying, "I feel an enormous sense of disappointment after our team fought for 90 minutes to protect the England shirt and earn a place in the World Cup final. Instead, we watched our dream disappear following refereeing decisions that caused enormous controversy around the world. As captain, I was close enough to the action to believe Messi was offside during the build-up to Enzo Fernandez's opening goal. And then things became even more frustrating when the American referee appeared to miss what we believed was a serious challenge involving our young defender Jed Spence. After Messi made contact with his leg while winning the ball and beginning the move that eventually led to Lautaro Martinez's decisive goal. For us, this was more than simply losing a football match. It felt like a refereeing controversy of enormous proportions. And then came another issue that made the situation even more explosive. Argentine players and supporters were accused of displaying a political message connected to the Falkland Islands. They play in our Premier League, earn substantial salaries from English clubs, and yet many British supporters viewed the banner as a direct provocation against their country. That is why calls for action have grown louder. Some fans are demanding that Argentine players be removed and that their work permissions be reviewed. FIFA should investigate everything surrounding the match, examine the controversial incidents, and determine whether disciplinary action is necessary. Some are even calling for Argentina's 1986 title to be reconsidered as a symbolic response to what they believe has been a long history of controversial moments. England manager Thomas Tuchel was also portrayed as furious, with BBC Sport being cited in the discussion. He allegedly said, "From a tactical perspective, we prepared extremely well. We understood Argentina's strengths, we knew where the danger would come from, and for large parts of the match we managed to control it. But then controversial refereeing decisions changed the entire direction of the semi-final. I am a professional coach, and I never want to hide behind excuses. However, when players and supporters believe there was an obvious offside situation and a serious challenge involving Jed Spence, it becomes difficult to simply remain silent." The controversy became even bigger when claims surfaced that Messi had grabbed Jude Bellingham around the neck during the match and later made contact with Spence's leg without facing a VAR review. To angry English supporters, it appeared that Argentina's actions were being treated differently from England's. And when the political banner controversy was added to the footballing disputes, the entire situation became far more explosive. FIFA regulations concerning political messages in stadiums are now being discussed by supporters who believe the matter deserves an official investigation. According to the narrative circulating in the British media, there is also growing frustration surrounding players such as Cristian Romero, Lisandro Martinez, and Enzo Fernandez. Calls to reconsider their positions in English football have become louder among some supporters. The argument is simple. How can players represent clubs in England, earn their living through English football, and then participate in actions that British fans interpret as disrespectful toward the country? For those demanding punishment, this is no longer only about football. It has become a question of national pride, history, and respect. And then there is the 1986 controversy. Demands to reopen Argentina's historic World Cup triumph have returned because of the infamous Diego Maradona handball against England. Critics argue that football history contains moments that were never properly addressed, and they now want FIFA to reconsider whether the title should remain untouched. Whether such a demand has any realistic legal or sporting path is another question entirely, but the anger behind it is clearly being used to fuel the current controversy. England legend Wayne Rooney was also brought into the debate through comments attributed to TNT Sport. He reportedly said, "What happened feels like a knife through the heart, because this England team gave everything for 90 minutes. Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, and the rest of the squad represented the three lions with enormous pride. But when you believe you are fighting not only the opposition but also controversial refereeing decisions, the frustration becomes overwhelming. The second Argentine goal is especially difficult to accept from our perspective. How could an incident involving Messi and Spence happen without a lengthy review? The defender was down, the play continued, and Lautaro Martinez eventually finished the move. That is why so many English supporters described the match as something that was taken away from them." Rooney allegedly continued, "And when you add the political controversy involving the Falkland Islands, emotions become even stronger. English fans remember Maradona's handball from 1986, and seeing another controversial Argentina-related story emerge decades later has reopened old wounds. As for players such as Lisandro Martinez and Christian Romero, they now face a difficult atmosphere among some Premier League supporters. The question being asked is how they will return to English stadiums after everything that happened. Every interview, every training session, and every match could bring questions about the controversy. The pressure could become enormous. The demands from some supporters have therefore moved beyond the pitch. They want the Premier League and English clubs to respond publicly and make it clear where they stand. Some even argue that Argentine players should not be allowed to continue playing in England without an apology or clarification concerning the political message. Whether football authorities would ever take such extreme action is uncertain, but the debate itself has become impossible to ignore. Jude Bellingham was also portrayed as speaking emotionally to ITV Sport, saying, "I felt I was kicked, grabbed, and held around the neck by Messi during the match. When I went toward the American referee, Ismail El Fath, to complain, I felt my concerns were dismissed. That was incredibly frustrating because we were already dealing with an extremely tense game. From our perspective, the match was not decided purely by football. We believed several major decisions went against us, and that feeling stayed with us after the final whistle." Bellingham allegedly added, "Then came the political controversy. Seeing the Falkland Islands message after everything that had happened made the atmosphere even more hostile. British supporters understandably felt angry. The calls for Romero, Lisandro Martinez, and Enzo Fernandez to be removed from English football are now being discussed everywhere. Some fans believe players who represent English clubs should show respect toward the country where they work. Others argue that international football and club football should remain completely separate. Either way, the argument is no longer disappearing." He also reportedly addressed the 1986 controversy, saying that FIFA should examine the old case again. For English fans, Maradona's famous handball remains one of the most painful moments in their football history. Now, with another Argentina-England match surrounded by controversy, those memories have returned with full force. Former England striker Michael Owen was then brought into the discussion through comments attributed to Channel 4 Sport. He reportedly described the semi-final as far more than an ordinary defeat. In his view, the controversy surrounding the match reminded English supporters of the pain they experienced in 1986. Maradona's infamous handball changed England's World Cup journey, and now supporters believe another generation has been forced to experience a similarly painful night. The claims surrounding Messi and the first Argentine goal have therefore become a major part of the debate. Critics insist that the opening goal should have been examined more carefully, while others continue to argue over the exact circumstances surrounding the incident. The second goal has created even more discussion because of the alleged contact involving Messi, Bellingham, and Spence. The referee's decision not to stop the sequence immediately has become one of the biggest talking points among angry England supporters. But the story did not end when the final whistle sounded. The political banner controversy pushed the situation into an entirely different category. The Falkland Islands remain one of the most sensitive historical issues between Britain and Argentina, and any football-related message involving the dispute was always likely to create a huge reaction. That is why some British commentators and supporters are now calling for action against Argentine players currently earning their careers in England. Names such as Christian Romero, Lisandro Martinez, and Enzo Fernandez have been pulled directly into the argument. Some supporters want their work visas reviewed and their futures in English football questioned. Others believe that such punishment would go far beyond what football authorities should ever consider. FIFA, the Premier League, and the relevant clubs would ultimately have to determine whether any actual rules were broken and whether disciplinary measures are justified. As for the demand to strip Argentina of the 1986 World Cup title, that remains an extraordinary request. The controversy surrounding Maradona's handball is legendary, but overturning a World Cup title decades later would be an unprecedented step. Still, for furious England supporters, the message is clear. They believe the history of Argentina and England is filled with moments that deserve another look. And now, with the latest semi-final controversy added to that history, the old rivalry has suddenly become explosive again. England supporters are demanding answers. Argentine supporters are defending their team. Football commentators are debating the refereeing decisions. And the political controversy has created an entirely new layer of tension. So what happens next? Will FIFA investigate the disputed incidents? Will the Premier League respond to the political banner controversy? Could any Argentine player actually face consequences in England? And perhaps the biggest question of all, will anyone seriously attempt to reopen the 1986 World Cup case? For now, nothing is settled. The accusations are flying, emotions are rising, and the England-Argentina rivalry has once again become one of the most heated stories in world football. But remember, allegations are not the same as confirmed findings, and any disciplinary punishment would depend on official investigations and evidence. Now tell us what you think. Was England genuinely wronged by the refereeing decisions? Should FIFA investigate the political banner? Should Argentine players face any consequences in the Premier League? And do you believe the 1986 World Cup controversy should ever be revisited? Drop your opinion in the comments, hit like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next major football update. See you in the next video.